gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the My 2 Cents podcast, presented by and hosted by G2. I am G2. This is episode 229 of the podcast. And first and foremost, I would like to ask every single listener, for the returning listener and the first-time listener, how are you doing? I'm hoping everyone had a great to lovely week. If you didn't, I'm hoping that you at least had a good week. I hope you didn't have a sucky week. If you did, I apologize for that. I'm hoping that this upcoming, we're already in the weekend, but this upcoming holiday, Memorial Day tomorrow, will be better for you, which starts off the week for a lot of individuals. I'm hoping that traffic wasn't bad for a lot of individuals out there as well, because by the time this episode is out, Sunday, people will already be kind of in the gist. If you got to go somewhere and be at another party before the night's over, I hope that traffic isn't as bad for you. I haven't experienced a lot of traffic so far when I had to go out and get a couple things. But again, Memorial Day weekend, people are out there. Please be careful, and please be careful of your surroundings, because it doesn't require you to be the cause of an accident. Some other person can cause an accident on the road. So please look out for your surroundings. That's one. And two, I say this every Sunday, and I'm going to continue to say it every Sunday forward. Please do not stress yourself out. Only control things that are in your wheelhouse or things that you can't actually control. Trying to handle or stress out over things you cannot control leads you to an earlier grave. It leads you to problems within your body, whether it be mentally or physically. And stress is a silent killer. I really do believe that. I believe that it is one of those things that helps out anything that's already in your body be agitated to, as I said earlier, bring you to a earlier grave. So please don't stress out over things that you cannot control. I won't say stress out, but only control things that are in your wheelhouse or things that you actually can control. Okay? And please do not try to handle more than you can. Don't put too much on your plate. If you got a list of things you got to do this week, take about half of that, or be reasonable in the things that you actually can control and do it, and don't trip out over things that you didn't handle that week. You got another week to do it. Just breathe, relax, and know that everything's going to be fine, all right? So with that said, now it's time for me to move on to our National Food Days of the week. Today being May 25th, it is Wine Day, so please drink responsibly. May 26th will be Cherry Dessert Day, as well as Blueberry Cheesecake Day. May 27th will be Grape Popsicle Day, as well as Italian Beef Day. May 28th will be Burger Day, as well as Brisket Day. May 29th will be Biscuit Day. May 30th will be Mint Julep Day, so please drink responsibly on that day as well. And then to round us out, and also to end out the month of May, May 31st will be Macaroon Day. So this is the last week of May. I hope everyone had a great May, and let's end it out strong. So with that, that is your National Food Days of the week for this week. And now let's get on with the show. First things first, let's get on with the condolences. This week, we lost a lot of people this week. We lost Indianapolis Colts owner and CEO, Jim Irsay. He died at the age of 65. ESPN will write up an article about it. Colts owner Jim Irsay, who led the team since 1997 and presided over one of the storied franchise greatest eras, died Wednesday. He was 65. We are devastated to announce our beloved owner and CEO, Jim Irsay, passed away peacefully in his sleep this afternoon. Colts Chief Operating Officer Pete Ward said in a statement released by the team, Jim's dedication and passion for the Indianapolis Colts, in addition to his generosity, commitment to the community, and most importantly, his love for his family, were unsurpassed. Jim is survived by his daughters and his 10 grandchildren. So that's what we have here on Jim Irsay passing. I don't have much to say about it. I just know that probably Pat McAfee, who was a kicker for the Indianapolis Colts. He probably said something on the Pat McAfee show about it. So if you want to get a real deep retrospect on the man, Jim Irsay, I would probably go to the Pat McAfee show to hear him give his testimony and tribute to Jim Irsay. So again, rest in peace to Jim Irsay, and give condolences to the family, and again, give love and light to Jim Irsay's family. Now, on to the next condolences I do have to talk about. George Wedd. He was the man played Norm in Cheers. The creators of Cheers would talk about George, who passed away this week at the age of 76 on Tuesday. They talked to Deadline, and they would say George was as lovable as the character he played on Cheers. It was the perfect marriage of actor and character. George was a gentleman and a gentle man. Norm was America's favorite barfly, and as the theme song said, everyone knew his name and shouted it when he walked through the door. We were blessed to have him in our lives. So that's what the creators would say about George, and also his co-star in Cheers, Kelsey Grammer. He would talk to the Winter Publications as well about George and talk about him in a glowing fashion. So again, give condolences to the family of George Wedd. I did not know this until I looked up about George. When you do a quick Google search, you know that he's the uncle of Jason Sudeikis, another top name in the Hollywood field of comedy as well. So I would say he probably gave him a few pointers of how to do things. At least that's the way I would think about it. But again, love and light to the family of George Wedd. Moving over into another passing that happened this week. The husband of Today co-host Chanel Jones, he passed away. The show was announced on Friday. Jones' husband, his name was Uche Oche. He passed away from a form of brain cancer. Today host Savannah Guthridge would tell the viewers he was 45, saying there are no words for the pain that we feel for Chanel and their 3 young children. Uche was an incredible person. We all loved him. And in an article, they would detail the meeting of Uche and Chanel from their time when they met back whenever Jones was a freshman in college and Uche was only a high school senior. And again, that's how they first connected right then and there. Uche, again, is survived by his wife and 3 children. They would also say that Jones has been absent from the show, announcing in January that she was taking time off for a family matter. She posted on Instagram saying, "Hi everyone, I sincerely appreciate all of you who have reached out while I've been absent from the show. I want to share with you that I'm taking time to deal with a family matter. It's not lost on me how lucky I am to have not only the support of my Today Show family, but also to all of you. Your kindness means so much to me. I'll see you soon. Love, Chanel." So again, want to send love and condolences off to Chanel and her children, and losing a husband at the age of 45 and to brain cancer or just to any cancer in general is terrible, is trash. And again, let's not waste this time, ladies and gentlemen. If you have someone that you truly love that's going through something, try to be with them as much as you can. I'm not going to say be their health keeper, because that takes an immense toll on you. So know your limitations, but try to be with them as much as you can. If you can't be with them physically, if you have electronic device, whether you FaceTime them or you do something with a Zoom or anything of that nature, try to at least pop in on them at least once a week or more than once a week if you have that time and capability. Make sure you have a day-to-day talk with them on the phone. Again, you can do that on the phone or you can do a FaceTime, but you get my point. Try to keep in contact with someone that you love if you know they're not doing well. Because again, your love, your support is something that can change the outcome for someone in a very, very bad state. And also for the person that's in a bad state as well. If you're in a state whether you have cancer or you have disease or something of that magnitude, please do not give up. please continue to fight, and just know that you're willing to make changes so you can beat whatever you got. And let your people know that you're fighting this thing. Because once they know that you're fighting, guess what? That will at least put them in a nice, it'll put them in a nice space mentally. Because they know even if you happen to lose your battle with whatever you're facing, they know that you at least fought the fight instead of just allowing whatever you have to take over. You know what I mean? But again, I don't want to get on my soapbox. I just want to say that to everyone out there because just the 3 names that I listed are 3 people that went down all this week. And you could be seeing another person going down sometime soon, and I don't want to say that, but it's true. Billy Joel. Billy Joel's another guy that could be going down, and I want to kind of announce this. Not announce it, but like, just read this out. The Independent would write up an article saying that Billy Joel cancels all concerts after a rare brain condition diagnosis. The 76-year-old singer-songwriter has been scheduled to perform across the U.S. and 2 days in the U.K. this year, but that all had to be canceled because of a rare brain diagnosis. A statement posted to his official Instagram account reads, Billy Joel has announced that he will be canceling all scheduled concerts following a recent diagnosis of normal pressure hydrocephalus, NPH. NPH is a condition caused by excessive cerebrospinal fluid building up in the brain, which leads to increased pressure, which compresses brain tissue and can lead to neurological symptoms. So meaning, to my understanding, that homeboy could die. So Billy Joel, he has to cancel his tour, and that's just what it is. When you got the brain being messed with, you got to put everything on pause and deal with that. So please, if you're a fan of Billy Joel, I would say just say a couple prayers for him. Even if you're not a fan, if you're just a regular person, say a prayer for Billy Joel, say a prayer for everybody out here in the world, but say a prayer for the people that are doing bad, whether you know them or don't know them. Say a prayer for people that are doing bad, way worse than you're doing, in extreme medical conditions, and hope that they kick out or whatever they have and just continue to fight the good fight, so no one passes away from this type of illness. And if they do, let them pass away gracefully in their sleep, feeling no pain, stuff like that, instead of feeling pain and go out like that. That's a terrible way to go. But yeah, Billy Joel, he can pass away at any time because of this brain condition. I'm hoping that it doesn't happen, but just cherish people that you have on this planet. Okay? If you haven't spoken to someone in some time, and let's say you had a bad last talk with them, if you can't get over what you guys talked about, don't try to repatch it, because you know what's going to happen. You know how it's going to end up once again. So just let it be what it can be. But if you can get past your previous confrontation or what someone said, and you know you can get past it, go ahead and make that call and talk with someone. Talk to that person, because again, the worst thing that could happen is you know that you could have squashed the beef or got past whatever someone said or did to you, and you end up getting a call saying that person passed away, and now you have all that regret on your spirit, and you always going to think about the what ifs. So please don't let that be a hindrance to you, and make the call and cherish everyone that you have on this planet. So that's all the celebrity condolences that I do have to get out the way. One last condolence that I do have to talk about, but this goes into a news topic here. The Associated Press would write about a runway lights that weren't working as a pilot tried to land as foggy San Diego airport before a fatal crash. And they're talking about the crash that happened in San Diego that killed 6 people aboard an aircraft. The runway lights were out, a weather alert system wasn't working, and there was heavy fog at the San Diego airport when a pilot who had flown across the country made the decision to proceed with landing, but came up short and crashed into a neighborhood, likely killing all 6 aboard the aircraft, investigators said Friday. Investigator Dan Barker of the National Transportation Safety Board said officials will work over the next year to determine what caused the aircraft to crash just before 4 a.m. Thursday. The jet was carrying a music executive and 5 others. No one in the neighborhood of the U.S. Navy housing died, but 8 people were treated for smoke inhalation from the Fury crash and non-life-threatening injuries. The pilot acknowledged the weather conditions for landing at the small airport were not ideal and debated diverting to a different airport while discussing the visibility with an air traffic controller at a regional Federal Aviation Administration control tower, according to the audio of the conversation posted by liveatc.net. The FAA has posted an official notice for pilots that the lights were out of service, but it's not known whether the pilot had checked it. He didn't discuss the lights being out with air traffic control, but was aware that the airport's weather alert system was inoperable. Ultimately, the pilot is heard saying that he'll stick with the plan to land at Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport. Doesn't sound great, but we'll give it a go, he told the air traffic control. The plane crashed about 2 miles from the airport. Baker said a power surge knocked out the weather system at the airport, but the pilot was aware of the fog and air traffic controller gave him weather information from Marine Corps Air Station about 4 miles north. So it seems that they're going to try to put and shift the blame all on the pilot that was actually carrying the people on this aircraft and not place it on to the person that he was talking to, the air traffic controller. And I don't want to say this and mean this in a hard way or in a bad way, but this all sounds reminiscent to me of the Kobe Bryant situation. And again, I don't want to sound bad when I say this, but I remember when the Kobe Bryant situation happened and the information and the news would come about saying how Kobe and the people on that plane were in the air and that the pilot couldn't see nothing. It was foggy that day. And we were all trying to figure out, why did that plane go up in the air if the pilot couldn't see anything? I understand the people on the plane had to get to I want to say it was a basketball type of event. But if you can't see nothing, your pilot isn't supposed to go up in the air at all. And for this pilot right here, they already said he was doing cross country. He's flown across the country for this situation. If he couldn't see anything and he was already talking to a air traffic controller, he should have shifted off. He should have asked the air traffic controller, hey, when's the next, or where is the next possible location that I actually can go down? Don't try to say, well, I'm just going to go anyway. And you miss, ultimately killing yourself and the people that you're carrying on that aircraft. Again, I don't mean to sound bad when I say anything like this, but this is what the people are going to try to put on the person, again, manning the flight and carrying the people on the aircraft. And when you stop to really think about this, you will say that too. Why would you try to do something? Why? It doesn't work out in the end. You're taking a risk. Why take that risk and you can't see nothing? Why take that risk and your personnel that's talking to you tell you, yo, we can't see nothing. You know the conditions here. You know everything as the pilot. You know this. Why go with machismo, bravado, your ego? You have to put all that in the back burner when you are manning a aircraft, because you got people on this freaking plane that you want to get down safely. Not only for their sake, but for yours, because I don't think you want to die on that plane either. So, again, it just doesn't make sense. But again, they'll be working on this thing. They'll be investigating this thing. They say they'll be working on this for over the next year to determine the official cause of this crash. But again, I can already see by the way this article was typed up, I can see them trying to literally pass the buck onto the not aircraft controller, but the person that was manning this aircraft that unfortunately crashed and killed people on this plane. So again, give my condolences to the people that lost their lives on this aircraft. Give my condolences to the person that was manning the aircraft. And again, condolences to everyone that lost people this week and people that are going through something this week. So officially, with all the condolences out the way, and this was a long block for the condolences, but I had to get that out the way. That was part of the news this week. Now let's get on to other news topics here. ABC, they will write up an article saying that the judge temporarily blocks Donald Trump's ban on Harvard enrolling international students. A federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from revoking Harvard University's ability to enroll international students. Harvard University sued the Trump administration Friday, alleging that the move was a blatant violation of the First Amendment, the Due Process Clause, and the Administrative Procedure Act. U.S. District Judge Allison D. Burroughs granted a temporary restraining order and set a hearing for Tuesday morning. Harvard President Alan Garber called the order a critical step to protect the rights and opportunities of our international students and scholars in a letter to the university student body sent Friday afternoon. The Trump administration said on Thursday the school lost its ability to use the student and exchange visitor program, which allows for non-citizens to study at the university under a specific visa, because it had not complied with demands sent last month to supply information on student visa holders. Department of Homeland Security Secretary would write a letter to the university, and in the letter they would say, as a result of your refusal to comply with multiple requests to provide Department of Homeland Security pertinent information while perpetrating an unsafe campus environment that is hostile to Jewish students, promotes pro-Hamas sympathies, and employs racist, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, you have lost this privilege. So that's what happened there. Then you had Gerber, who pushed back in a message to the university on Friday. The government has claimed that its destructive action is based on Harvard's failure to comply with requests for information from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. In fact, Harvard did respond to the department's request as required by law, Gerber said. In its complaint, Harvard said there is no lawful justification for canceling the status. The school accused administration of wagoning an unprecedented and retaliatory attack because the university supports policies the administration doesn't like. So this just seems like a big, and I excuse my language when I say this, dick measuring or dick swinging contest between Donald Trump and basically Harvard. Again, I don't like what's going down. I think that people should be able to get higher education. And if you got people that, again, that are not pro-Israel, that feel that they want to debate or go against what Israel is doing because of the whole Israel, Gaza, Palestine situation, you got to let that stuff happen. This is America. America, we literally will debate with one another every single day. Hell, we do it every 4 years when it's time for the presidential election to happen. We have a debate for that. America is literally for debate unless you get to a point where you got someone at the top now and trying to squash that and say, you're going to do what I say we're going to do, or there's going to be some repercussions. Oh yes, I have to say this now. Anything that I say about politics or anything like that nature, I have no political agenda. All those thoughts and opinions are by me, G2. I am not a part of any political group, whether it be Democrat, Republican. I am not a part of none of that. I am my own self. I think for only me. And I just want that to be known out front because I don't want people to think there is some type of agenda being pushed on this broadcast or this platform that I have here. It's not. It's only my thoughts. Literally, it's in the freaking information when you look up this podcast. It says my thoughts are just trying to be shared to this universe, and I hope everybody enjoys. So, again, I just want to get that out the way here. But when you have international students that are given the opportunity to get an education and higher education coming over here in one of the top Ivy League schools, let them do it. What's the harm to it? And again, just because they oppose what's going down in another country over here in the States, I think you should allow them to do so. Because again, we're all about saying what you want to say, but there will be some repercussions for it. But it shouldn't be in the way that, okay, you disagree with what I say about what's going on in another country with war. Now, guess what? You can't get to be here anymore. We're going to revoke your visa. Nope. It makes no sense. The only way I see you doing that is if they do something criminal, as in killing someone or robbing someone or doing stuff like that. That I can say, okay, now I can say yank their visa and then let them go about their business, because you're not here for that. You're here to get an education. And if you disagree with someone, you do it civil. You don't go out of your way to do something stupid and be an ignoramus. That's the only time I can say you need to revoke their visas, whenever they go out of their box, as in, again, killing someone or robbing someone, stealing someone, doing that type of stuff. Once they do that, revoke their visa. If they don't do any of that and they're just having a peaceful protest, let them do it. Again, we're in America, bro. This is kind of what we do over here. But I'm glad that a judge is blocking the Trump's administration from trying to have Harvard ban international students enroll, and there is a hearing set for Tuesday morning. So more than likely, if I don't get to it on my Wednesday episode, you'll hear from me again, talk about this probably next Sunday, and give an update on what the ruling or where we're standing at with Harvard still being able to enroll or not enroll international students. Now, continuing on in political news here, Latin Times will write up an article, and the headline would read, Trump instructs Republicans to erase January 6 riots from history, Congressman says. Donald Trump has instructed Republican lawmakers to erase the events of January 6, a Democratic congressman said, as efforts to honor Capitol police officers with a memorial plaque remain stalled more than 2 years after its legal deadline. Following the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot, during which over 140 officers were injured and 5 died in its aftermath, Congress passed legislation requiring a commemorative plaque to be installed by March 2023 to honor the officers' bravery. The plaque, funded through an omnibus spending bill passed with bipartisan support, was designed to be placed on the Capitol's western front, the site of some of the most intense violence. The plaque has not been installed. It is currently sitting in a Capitol basement utility room. Democratic Representative Hakeem Jeffries says House Republicans under Speaker Mike Johnson have deliberately blocked its placement. This is where there's a clear difference between Democrats and Republicans, the House Minority Leader said. House Democrats have made it clear we are going to respect and honor those law enforcement officers who defended this Capitol on January 6. Jeffries continued, the reason why the law hasn't been complied with and a plaque hasn't been erected is because Republicans directed by their puppet master Donald Trump have been told to try to erase January 6 as if it never happened. Now, I'm not certain if that's true or not, but if there was supposed to be a plaque placed up there and it hasn't been done yet in the last, 2 years, you could say under the Biden administration last year, they should have had it up so we can kind of try to ask why it wasn't up there then. Now, with Donald Trump saying this or allegedly saying this, do I believe it? I can believe it, okay? Because Donald Trump hasn't really answered and given like a bona fide, yes, that was a riot. Yes, that was an insurrection. Yes, these people were going against the government on that day, January 6, 2021, a day that, might I add, every single American saw because, let me remind everyone, we were still under COVID rules, which means you had to be inside your home unless you were a emergency or a critical worker. Other than that, if you worked in an office job or went to college like I did, you did your job and did your schooling from home on a computer. And by this time, that Capitol riot, that insurrection, that took over the news, that took over the internet, that took over people's feed, I say, for that whole week, because that was something that we've never saw in real life time over here on America's grounds since, I say, before the internet and modern day society actually existed. That happened, I want to say, probably, if anything, George Washington and all them, whenever they did the whole Boston Tea Party, whenever they literally overran the British government who was trying to take over America over here. So think about that for a minute. We all sat and saw it, whether you saw it on your phones, your laptops, your television sets, you saw that. You saw clips, you knew about that insurrection. And for now, again, allegedly, Donald Trump is trying to just bypass it, erase it, try to pretend like it never happened. I don't like that, bro. I hate it, because let it be the other way around. Let it be another minority, whether it be blacks, whether it be the Hispanic group, whether it be any other group than just basically white people. And I want to say this right now, white people, Caucasian people, I have no beef with you at all. I'm just stating the facts. And this is not debatable as you guys think it is. I mean, you can try to debate with me in real life if you meet me about this, but you know it's true, and I know it's true. If it would have been any other group but white people doing this, this would have been a very, very different situation. There would have been a lot more bloodshed happening there. That's one. And two, we would never forget this. We would never, whether it be the former president would have brought it up, the new president currently, whether it be Democrat, Republican, they would have brought it up. This would be an event in American time that we would never forget, and there would be monuments, there would be statues, there would have been different things to honor people that were fighting for the government during that time. But for some reason, and you know the reason why, that's not the case here. If there's supposed to be a plaque up there, have the plaque be up there. Don't try to stall it. That's stupid. And also, I just want to make this perfectly clear. If you are a part of the Republican Party has traditionally always stood behind the police. And the police at the time, they were fighting for the government during this insurrection. Yes, some of the police were a part of the insurrection. They let some people just literally just stand aside and just allow them to do their business. But police were still fighting for your congressmen and your state legislators that were up there in Washington on that day to make sure that these people wouldn't get to them. They should be honored. They should have a plaque. They should have money. They should make sure that this is never forgotten. So I would think that Republicans should be like, yeah, we should have that plaque up. Why not? Because your guy is up there running or being the figurehead of the free world because of, again, in my opinion, again, I can't confirm this. This is all just my conspiracy thought. There are people behind the scenes controlling everything. And I mean like the top power players, people that you will never ever see or know about a day in your life, control what is controlled up there. They've made the decision that he's going to be the figurehead for America here, and we're just going to allow him to just be the guy for right now until we do what we do. The Republican Party, they're not trying to mess with that because they know what's going down. They know what's going up there, and some of them will like it, some of them don't. And again, they're not trying to upset the status quo up there. So that's the only reason why. If it was any other president, they would have had a fit. They would have said the plaque needs to be up there. How dare they not have the plaque and all this type of stuff. But yeah, man, I think that the plaque needs to be up there for the people that were fighting against these rioters, these insurrectionists on January 6th. And again, if Trump is trying to erase this thing, it's not good. It's nasty business, but I don't think you can ever erase what we all saw literally on our eyes and on the internet that day. You can't erase that, buddy. Moving off of Trump news here, moving on to Associated Press, they were writing an article about Russia and Ukraine. They swapped hundreds of prisoners in the first phase of a major exchange. They would say Russia and Ukraine began a major prison exchange Friday, swapping hundreds of soldiers and civilians in the first phase of an exchange that was a movement of cooperation and otherwise failed efforts to reach a ceasefire in 3-year-old war. President Zelensky said the first phase brought home 390 Ukrainians, including soldiers and civilians, with further release expected over the weekend. That will make it the largest swap of the war. Russian Defense Ministry said it received the same number from Ukraine. It is very important to bring everyone home, Zelensky wrote on Telegram, thanking all who worked to secure their return and pledging to continue diplomatic efforts to make exchanges possible. Dozens of relatives of prisoners cheered and chanted thank you as buses carrying the free captives arrived at a medical facility in Ukraine's region. The men, some with expressionless faces and others unable to contain their emotions, got off the buses wrapped in Ukrainian flags for joyful reunions. So I'm happy that this happened. They say Kyiv and Moscow agreed last week to exchange 1,000 prisoners from each side in their first direct peace talks since the early weeks of Russia's 2022 invasion. That meeting lasted only 2 hours and brought no breakthrough in the U.S.-led efforts to stop the fighting. So right now, I don't know if there's still going to be fighting between Ukraine and Russia, possibly, but for both countries to at least agree, hey, we're going to do some swaps here, some prisoners, civilian swaps. Let's do that. I like that because, again, you at least give some hope. You give hope to people in Ukraine and you give hope to people in Russia. Because I've stated this before. We all know the people in Ukraine don't want this war to continue. This war is trash. It should have ended and should have never started to begin with. But as soon as it started, it should have ended immediately. Let's be honest. And people in Russia, they felt the blunt of this too. They felt some of their buildings being toppled. Not as much as Ukraine, but some of their buildings have been toppled. That has been stated. But Russian citizens, they aren't down for this war. They're not. But they're under the rule of Putin over there, so they got to kind of roll with the punches. But Russian civilians aren't cool with this. They don't want this to happen. They want this to be over too. So with Zelensky and whoever Putin is giving the thumbs up to make this swap, I'm glad that this is happening. I'm hoping that this is the legit first steps towards some type of peace talk between both countries. And again, if the United States can stay out of it and just kind of like be the guy in the shadow and just make sure that they do what they're supposed to do and let Russia and Ukraine literally just have this peace talk between themselves, I think that'll be great. We don't need to interject ourselves, be the third party, all that type of stuff. No, we can literally just be in the back and just watch and just giving lending ear to Ukraine and Russia whenever they need to have that lending ear process, because America's not going to fully ever step out of anything. But if we just give a lending ear, that's cool, that's fine. But let Russia and Ukraine literally have their talks amongst themselves. Because this, I feel, was not an American like, oh, you guys can do a prisoner swap. No, this is more of a Ukraine and Russia deal, having a talks amongst themselves because they know what each other are thinking, at least in retrospect. So again, I'm glad Russia and Ukraine were able to make some swappage, get people back to their respective homes. And I'm hoping that this is literally the first start of this ending of this whole 3-year-old war. That's what I am hoping for. And again, if this is the first measurement or first steps towards that, I'm hoping that Ukraine doesn't have to give no type of land over to Russia. And if they do, I hope they give over just a small piece of land. Not too much. Not too much that it will cripple Ukraine, because that sucks. That would suck altogether. So again, I'm hoping that this is the beginning of peaceful talks. And again, I'm happy that people are getting their lives back, both Russia and Ukraine. Now, moving off of that, let's get over to the States over here. People magazine will write an article about a California police officer allegedly caught partying at Stagecoach and Disneyland while collecting $600,000 in workers' compensation. The article would read, a California police officer is facing 15 felony charges and up to 22 years in prison after being accused of alleged workers' compensation insurance fraud and stealing more than $600,000 from taxpayers. Nicole Brown, formerly of the Westminster Police Department, suffered a head injury in 2022 while attempting to handcuff a suspect and was later placed on disability. According to a May 20th press release from the Office of the District Attorney of Orange County, Brown complained to her watch commander that she had a headache and was feeling dizzy, but an emergency room doctor who examined her that same day released her back to work without restrictions. Several days after the incident, Brown called in sick to work multiple days in a row and was later diagnosed with severe concussion syndrome and was placed on total temporary disability, according to the release. Officers who received a work-related injury are entitled to their full salary for up to a year in addition to any medical fees. The district attorney office claims that Brown cost Westminster more than $600,000 in taxpayer money during her time on disability. While on her disability, Brown complained of headaches, dizziness, sensitivity to light and noise, problems processing thoughts and words, and an inability to work on the computer or do any screen time, the release claims. However, an investigation alleged that while on disability, Brown was witnessed drinking and partying at the Stagecoach Music Festival in April 2023, despite the loud, crowded environment with temperatures over 100 degrees. She was also alleged to have gone to Disneyland, attended 3 AYSO soccer conferences, went snowboarding or skiing in Big Bear and Mammoth, ran 2 5K races, played golf, took online courses with the university, and attended baseball games. Brown's stepfather, who is a licensed attorney in California, has also been charged after being accused of aiding her in committing fraud by advocating on her behalf during a meeting to discuss what police duties she could perform. The meeting took place 3 days after the Stagecoach Music Festival. During the meeting, Brown allegedly claimed she was unable to look at the screen and was sitting in a dark room with the stepfather speaking on her behalf, the release adds. So he has been charged with 1 felony count of making a fraudulent insurance benefit claim and 1 felony count of assisting, abetting, conspiring with, and soliciting a person in an unlawful act. He's facing a maximum of 8 years in prison and could suffer discipline by the State Bar of California, according to the district attorney. So that's what's going on right now. They will be back in court in July 9th. I'm going to be looking towards this because you know what? That is crazy to me. Listen here, I understand you can try to get by on your place of work. If you happen to bump your head, and again, bumping your head sucks because anything can happen to the brain at any time given, but if you happen to bump your head and you're collecting and they say more than $600,000, dog, you sit yourself down, buddy. You sit down. You sit down. You don't try to do anything out the wheelhouse of, in the public. You don't go to these public events because if they got you at the music, like this music festival, right? If they got photos of you there, you're screwed. If they got photos of you going to Disneyland, if they got photos of you going to these soccer conferences at these snowboarding or skiing, at Big Bear, running these races, playing golf, and even seeing that you're even taking classes on an online university, you're screwed, bro. You're totally screwed because that's going against everything that you said was happening to you. So again, man, you got to just lay low. You literally have to play the part, be a method actor for real. When you are sick or you're playing sick, you basically got to go back and revert to being a child again. You know how children, when you were a kid and kids now would say they're sick and they try everything. They start coughing up, fake coughing. They try to do other things, try to make themselves warm or anything like that to try to say to their parent or to their guardian to say that they're sick and make them believe it. You got to be a legit method actor, dude. You got to do it. Because if you don't and you just like think, okay, I can say this and that and you'll buy it a little bit of time and thinking, okay, time has gone by. Now I should be able to do this and do that. And you're still collecting money. Nah. You gotta sit it all the way down. And you gotta slowly start doing certain things. But in the process of doing that, you gotta document it and let the people know, your bosses know about what's going down. Say, hey, I took a little step outside. I'm starting to see light a little bit. And I just want to give you guys a heads up. And I don't feel as queasy or nauseous. Like, talk about that with a lawyer about how you can finagle your workplace. Don't do what this lady did, because it seems to me that she didn't talk to a lawyer for real. And I'm not saying that her stepfather isn't like a lawyer for real, but just like, I would think a lawyer would tell you, you keep yourself inside the home and don't do nothing. That's all you gotta do. Stay inside your house. They won't know nothing about anything. You go under a fake alias, or you have your people do a fake alias for you, as in, say, okay, you can't do screen time and anything like that. If you have a television inside your home, nobody will know about it if your screen is on or not, or your streaming services or whatever the case may be. You use a person's account, something like that. You know what I mean? Do something like that. But yeah, man, she just didn't do it. She didn't finagle the right way. And if they got her, bro. She's going down. So again, I'll be waiting for that. July the 9th, I believe this article said that they'll be back in court. So again, I'll be seeing what's going to happen there. Continuing on with court news here as well. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the woman that was the armorer on that Rust movie set, she has been released from prison. NBC News will write about it. They would say Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was responsible for firearms used on the Rust movie set that happened to led to the death of Helena Hutchins. She was released on Friday morning, a New Mexico Corrections Department spokesperson said. She was released in Arizona to a region near Nevada and California borders with dual supervision under probation and parole authorities to take place concurrently, a spokesperson said. She will be on parole in the manslaughter case for a year, the spokesperson will say as well. A separate and previous case in which Gutierrez-Reed was accused of unlawfully carrying a firearm in a licensed liquor establishment has resulted in 18 months of probation, the spokesperson would say. So, here's the deal. Gutierrez-Reed was sentenced to maximum penalty of 18 months in prison. She was held in Western New Mexico Correctional Facility in New Mexico, obviously, because of the state credit. For the time served, women in state prisons in New Mexico generally serve a little less than 60% of their sentences on average, according to the state's sentencing commission. However, Gutierrez-Reed was required to serve at least 85% of her sentence. In New Mexico, those convicted of a serious violent offense have this requirement. Involuntary manslaughter is not considered a serious violent offense in all cases, but some, like the armorers, have drawn that 85% threshold based on circumstances. Elements that trimmed Gutierrez-Reed time included 4 days credit each month for good behavior, 60 days credit for completing 2 phases of residential addiction program, and 40 days of pre-sentence credit, the corrections spokesperson said. So she's out. Cool. She spent, I want to say, 13 months, so that's about a year and a month inside. It wouldn't be prison per se. I think it's probably just jail, because I don't think she really spent a lot of time like that. But you get my point. She did her time for what they wanted her to do. And again, let's not lose sight of this. Helena Hutchins did pass away. Always give condolences to Helena Hutchins and to the family of Helena Hutchins. This, again, should be a lesson for people in Hollywood, especially people that are going to be in charge of the props and the weaponry, the armorers. Please, for the love of God, know what's going down, know your job, and know what is at stake, because I don't think no one wants to have another situation like this. This was unfortunate, and hopefully Hannah Gutierrez-Reed will learn from this and if she happens to work in Hollywood again. She'll take her job more seriously and know everything about the weapons or props that are going to be used on the set if she ever is ever in charge again of any type of equipment like that. So again, recipes to Helena Hutchins. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed is out. She gets another shot at the free world. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that incident. Next up, CBS News wrote an article, Boeing Justice Department reached deal to avoid trial over 737 crashes. Boeing has reached a $1.1 billion deal with the Department of Justice that will allow it to avoid prosecution for 2 crashes involving its 737 MAX jetliners that killed a total of 346 people. That's a lot. Boeing will be required to invest the money in improving the aviation giant's compliance, safety, and quality program, while $445 million will be set aside to provide compensation for the families of the victims killed in the crashes, the Justice Department said. The agreement stems from the crashes of Lion Air Flight 610 in 2018 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 in 2019. The deal will allow the company to avoid criminal prosecution for allegedly misleading U.S. regulators about the 737 MAX jetliner before the crashes, according to court papers filed Friday. A statement issued on behalf of some of the relatives of those killed in the crashes blasted the government's dealing with Boeing, saying the families felt tremendous grief and even anger at the agreement. A professor at the University of Utah who is representing the families said in a statement, "This kind of non-prosecution deal is unprecedented and obviously wrong for the deadliest corporate crime in U.S. history. My families will object and hope to convince the court to reject it." The Justice Department defended the agreement after careful consideration of the families' views, the facts, and the law, the department's principles of federal prosecution, and the professional and ethical obligations of prosecutors. It is the government's judgment that the agreement is a fair and just resolution that serves the public interest, the court papers state. I think that's a bunch of garbage. I think that Boeing should face criminal prosecution because of this. It killed 346 people, fam. Think about what I just said. 2 flights killed 346 people. And you mean to tell me the best that the government or the Justice Department decided to give Boeing was that they have to put money into improving their compliance and safety program and giving $445 million to the families of the victims that were killed in the crash? No, there should be some prosecution for this. Yes, the families should get money for this. No matter what, no one says that should happen, period, point blank. But there should be some type of criminal prosecution for this. Because if they were able to bypass and mislead U.S. regulators of their whole aircrafts before the crashes, there should be some type of punishment for that. Again, that's like, I'm just thinking just off the top of my head, like someone trying to avoid their taxes. You don't get to avoid your taxes but for so long without serving jail time. You're going to serve jail time. Yes, you're going to be paying back what you owe to the government, but you're going to be serving some jail time if you avoided your taxes. We've seen that from rich people. Wesley Snipes, he avoided his taxes. He had to go to jail, and I believe he even paid. There's been other instances as well, but for this is killing people, dude. Taxes are taxes, dude. You shouldn't go to jail for it, but they'll make you an example for it. This right here, the people at the top, whoever was running Boeing at the time, should be facing some criminal prosecution for this. Not just saying, oh, well, you just get a slap on the wrist, throw some money to the family, and just try to make your company better. No, this sucks. This is another case of the law-abiding citizen movie. If you haven't watched Law Abiding Citizen that has Gerard Butler and Jamie Foxx in it, please do yourself a favor and watch that movie. That movie is great. I feel that the families want the justice system to go all the way, just like Gerard Butler's character wanted the justice system to go all the way instead of just taking like a plea deal. They don't want that. They want them to go all the way because they know what's happening is wrong. So again, one, I feel sorry for the families here, but also what's happening here is wrong. And if you haven't seen Law Abiding Citizen, do yourself a favor, go and watch it. You won't be disappointed in that movie. Now, on to the last things that I do have to say here before I get out of here. Just some quick notes. One, I'm not going to be talking about the Diddy trial as much. Only got one thing to say about it this week. Kid Cudi, he did go up there to talk about his brief meetings with Puff. And again, it is what it is with that. My thing with that is something that I mentioned last week. Whoever is the person drawing for the inside of the courtroom, they drew Kid Cudi like he just came off of the PJs, like a PJs drawing. If you don't know the PJs, that was, I believe, animated claymation show by Eddie Murphy in the 90s. And the characterization of Kid Cudi looked like one of those. And if you've seen Kid Cudi and you've seen that photo, that drawing, if you will, that does not look like Kid Cudi at all. This goes back to what I said last week. There should be someone in there taking photos inside the courtroom. I understand you can't have videos in there. Great. Cool. You're not going to videolize this. But there should be someone taking photos of this if you don't have a good stencil list. You understand? If someone is not a good drawer, like the way that they draw Cassie last time, that was not a good Cassie. This time they drew Kid Cudi. That was not a good Kid Cudi. Take a photographer in there and have them just do a photo of moments from time to time whenever the court allows it. You know what I mean? That's what should happen here. That's the one quick note that I did make note of that, because me and my mom talked about it and we said that does not look like Kid Cudi, and we both like, yeah, there should have been someone taking photos in there. So one, that's the one thing I do like to mention there. Two, they did capture another one of the runaway inmates from New Orleans. So there's 5 people still out on large now. At first it was 10, and now it's slowly dwindling down to 5. And again, if you're out there, I'm not going to encourage anything. I'm just going to say, just do what you've been doing. Try to evade the law as best as you can. And law enforcement, do what you can do to try to capture them whenever the time calls for you to capture them. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's the update so far with that procedure over there. And also, just a little thing that just aggravated me when I had to go shopping this week. Famous Amos, if you remember, was made by the man Willie Amos, and he ended up losing the rights to Famous Amos to some company. I can't remember what it was, but I do remember him being on Shark Tank to try to sell the new cookies that he was doing. I saw Famous Amos on the shelves, and it had a likeness of Willie Amos on the packaging, and it made me look at it like, is homeboy getting a piece of the cut? Is his family getting a piece of the cut? Because I remember Willie Amos passing away last year, and I remember him talking to Shark Tank about him not getting nothing from Famous Amos, and that's the reason why he created the new cookie that he got. So I did a Google search quick, and still, the family of Willie Amos is not getting nothing from Famous Amos, even with his likeness literally being on the front of the Famous Amos bags. I think that's deplorable. I think that's nasty business. I hate it. I think that if I ever sell you a company, you should not be able to use my likeness on your freaking stuff at all. I don't care about it. No. You have my cookies, you have my branding, you have all that, but you do not have my likeness. That is nasty work, nasty business at its finest. I hate it. So that was just something that I saw when I had to go shopping. And again, nasty work. That's something that just bothered me and irritated me. I'm hoping that does get changed. If people do see it, somebody needs to make a change off that. Anything else I do need to talk about, because my time has officially wrapped up? I think there's nothing else. So, with that being said, it is now time for me to get you guys out of here. I would like to thank all the podcasting sites that have me up here, whether it be Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Podbean, all the podcasting sites that you're listening to this podcast on. I would like to thank all of them, because without these podcasting sites, I won't be able to get this podcast out to you guys, the downloaders, listeners. So I'd like to thank them first and foremost. But not so far behind, I would like to thank you guys, the downloaders and listeners, because without you guys, I'll just be one guy talking into a void. And I do appreciate everyone that does download the episode and take a listen to it, whether it be in your car, in the gym, just as background noise inside your home. I appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day just to listen to me just talk about anything and everything. So I appreciate you guys for that. Now, always remember,
I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you.
I do love you all. I want everyone to have a great and blessed day. Again, Memorial Day is tomorrow. We are in holiday weekend, so please be safe out there. And just want to give you guys a heads up. Tomorrow I will be dropping a wrestling podcast. It'll be me reviewing AEW's Double or Nothing event, which is happening tonight, and also NXT's Battleground event, which also is happening tonight as well. So I'll be talking about both of those events and recapping both of those shows tomorrow on my Monday episode. So look forward to that. But again, you'll hear from me again on Wednesday, Thursday, next Saturday, and Sunday as well. I want everyone to have a great day. Be safe, be blessed this upcoming week, and please don't be a dick. Be courteous to people out there, because you don't know what people are dealing with, and just be on your best behaviors, all right? So with that said, this has been the My 2 Cents Podcast, presented by and hosted by G2. He is I, and I am him. This isn't goodbye. This is until you hear from this sweet sounding voice again. And with all that said, Kanye, could you please take these people home?
I'm tired, you tired, Jesus wept.